Over the last few years, Subaru has seen some substantial growth here in the US market. The vehicle designed to be at the forefront of all this is the fully redesigned Impreza. This week, the company has sent me over the 5th generation 2017 model. Let's take an in-depth look and see how it stacks up against all the other super competitive offerings in the compact segment. Although the Impreza is not the company's best-selling vehicle, that distinction belongs to the Outback, the Impreza is nevertheless a still super important product in the Subaru portfolio. This is the first all-new platform to ride on the Subaru global product architecture. It's a platform that will underpin all the new Subarus in the next coming years, with the ability for the company to stretch the platform to a three-row crossover, which they showed us in the form of the Vizio concept back at the New York Auto Show earlier this year. Now, the Impreza is fully redesigned for 2017. This is the all-new 5th generation, and it's an all-new platform that sports a torsional rigidity that's about 70% stronger versus the previous generation that sold so well for Subaru. Now, you can see the design of the new Impreza doesn't really look all that new when you first glance at it. Of course, you're going to find traditional Subaru elements, the grille, these Hawkeye headlights, and then there are some new premium touches available on the Impreza for the first time. Now you can get full LED headlights like my tester has, which are available on limited trim. They are steering adaptive, and they're also automatic high beams if you guys get the Subaru EyeSight technology. Now, overall, I think the front fascia is very handsome, very conservatively styled in the typical Subaru fashion, but I think it's going to age extremely well, and I think it's going to be a very safe design that a lot of consumers in this segment are really just going to find to be incredibly handsome, especially when you look at some of the incredibly overstyled offerings like some of the competitors for this vehicle. Now, you can see my tester has the 17-inch alloy wheels. They're on relatively skinny 205 width tires. Now, if you want a bigger wheel and tire, there is a sport trim available with 18-inch wheels on 225 series rubber. Now, speaking of the trims, there are 4 different trims on the Impreza, starting at the base, premium, sport, and limited like my tester, and then you can take your pick between a 4-door sedan or this very attractive 5-door hatch like my tester, which is about a $500 upcharge. Now, in terms of the size of the Impreza, it actually grew compared to the previous generation on this new platform. The wheelbase is about 105 inches long. That's an inch longer. Overall length on the hatch is about 175.6 inches long, which is about 2 inches longer than the previous generation. The sedan's about 182 inches overall. As you guys know, the sedan is the longer choice, which is why I prefer the stubbier, shorter proportions of the hatch. Now, out back, you have LED taillights on the upper trim like my tester. If you guys go for the sedan, you'll actually get a single chrome outlet exhaust. The hatch model hides it underneath the bumper, which is interesting. I would market the hatch as the sportier looking offering, so I'm surprised Subaru didn't give it an exhaust tip to match. Now, overall, I think that I love the traditional hatch proportions of this particular model. Of course, if you guys want something with more ground clearance, Subaru will be offering the all-new Crosstrek, which actually just went on sale, riding on the same platform. This particular model, as it sits, has about 5.1 inches of ground clearance. If you guys go for the Crosstrek, it'll be jacked up to about 8.7 inches of ground clearance. And then, of course, there is a new WRX STI variant, which has been postponed until 2020. But enough about the exterior. Let's take a look at the inside and see all the changes Subaru has made for this all-new generation. My tester is a limited, so it does come standard with the company's smart key access system with push-button start. No remote start from the factory. It's a dealer accessory. Now, if you guys want this push-button start, it is available on the Sport and the limited trims, not available on the lower trims where you'll just get a standard keyless entry system. Now, first approaching the model, you can see my tester, because it's got the smart key access system, there's some ridges here on the outside of the door handles. They're also chrome on the limited. If you touch it with the key inside your pocket, it'll lock the doors for you. And then if you want to unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. Just touch the back of the handle and it unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the inside of the all-new Impreza, you can see it doesn't really look, again, all that different in terms of the design. However, Subaru has seriously upgraded the materials for this generation. I guess the company got really tired of all the criticism about its cheap, lower tech cabins compared to its competition. And you can see here there's lots of stitching. There's these really soft, comfortable beige leather seats with the black two-tone. It's a very upscale looking environment, very unlike a traditional Subaru in that regard. Looking at the door panels, there's also some nice imitation carbon fiber trim with the silver accents, chrome door handle. It's really nice. I'm super impressed with this interior. Can't wait to see what Subaru does with the rest of their lineup in the next coming years. Now, stepping inside the vehicle, you can see it has a traditional low step-in height. If you guys want the higher step-in height, go for the Crosstrek again, as I said earlier. Now, shutting the door, it sounds nice and solid. This is an all-new platform, as I said earlier, with 70% stronger torsional rigidity. Now, because my tester has push-button start, all you have to do is put your foot on the brake, push this button here to fire up the engine. And what you're hearing is the company's updated FB 2-liter flat 4. This is a boxer engine in Subaru traditional fashion. It makes all the traditional boxer noises, that boxer growl, which I actually really like the engine sound. It's a lot more character versus some of the, other, normal 4-cylinders that you find in all the other competitor vehicles. Now, first thing you're going to notice immediately, Apple CarPlay. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is actually standard across the board, whether you get the smaller 6.5-inch screen or this 8-inch screen like my tester has. Love the fact that Subaru has finally added Apple CarPlay. They're basically coming full front with the technology like all of its competitors. Now, let's take a look at some of the materials in here. You can see there's some really nice stitching on the dashboard here that goes basically throughout the dash. This portion here is also soft touch, in addition to this being here. And there's some nice, fake metallic trim. All the center stack displays look very clean. And then, of course, this eyebrow display here has been completely updated along with this display here. Now, first of all, let's go to the standard Subaru Starlink telematics system. This is basically an updated version that you guys have seen before in other Subaru products. You can see here the icons pretty much look the same. New features like Apple CarPlay, of course. It works kind of like a tablet. It has the pinch and zoom and swipe capability. Going to the map display here, you can see it is a Garmin-based navigation system, which again has the full tablet-like capability where you can swipe, you can zoom, you can pinch. It works pretty well. Inputting a destination is super easy. Just click there, go to that little function there, and it'll show you what's in your display and whatnot. Now, going back here, going to the radio display here, you have all your usual sources: AM, FM, XM. It's got Bluetooth streaming audio. It's got CarPlay and Android Auto. It's got a USB connect. The touch response is also pretty good. I also really like the big icons. It makes picking a station very easy, so that's really important, especially when you guys are driving on the roads. It's also a really good distance from the driver. I can easily reach the screen with no problems. Now, I want to talk a little about this eyebrow display here, because it's all controlled from this little button here on the steering wheel. When you push this button here, you can cycle between the different displays. The graphics look fantastic in this car. Really, Subaru has updated this entirely. It looks basically modern. It looks finally as a new vehicle. It belongs in this vehicle. It's one of the reasons that Subaru fell behind was the low tech, and you can see that's seriously not the case with this new eyebrow display. Coming to the door panels here, you can see it's soft touch, just like the front seats or the dashboard. You have more of that nice carbon fiber imitation trim. It's nice and padded here where your elbows are going to rest. The windows are one touch for both front. That's a really nice feature. Wasn't expecting that, especially in this class. A couple things this car is missing. It's got a 6-way power driver's seat, but it doesn't have any adjustable lumbar support, so it should be an 8-way. Now, some competitors are starting to throw in memory seats. Subaru obviously hasn't done that. When you look over here, which is again, small complaint, not too big of a deal. The steering wheel is all new. It's got a plethora of buttons on here, so it can be a little bit daunting when you first look at it, but you can see here your audio controls are here, your Bluetooth controls. This controls the second helper screen that's in the center display here, which is pretty nice. The graphics also work well. Over here you have your controls for the adaptive cruise control, the eyesight technology, and then Subaru throws in some paddle shifters on the higher trims of the Impreza for the continuously variable transmission. Now, when you put the vehicle into reverse, you get a nice backup camera. It has trajectory now, which is good. It also has reverse automatic braking. That's what RAB stands for. It has rear parking sensors. So Subaru seriously has thrown in all the technology, whereas I've definitely criticized the older Subaru head units for its lack of that, for a more basic rudimentary style backup camera. Now, coming down here, you have automatic climate control that's included on the Limited. Kind of wish it was a dual zone, only a single zone automatic climate control, but again, you can't really have everything. Down here, there's some nice storage for your phone. This controls the updated Lineartronic CVT transmission. transmission. It has a manual mode here. No sport mode though. I'm guessing Subaru is going to obviously reserve that for the WRX, the next generation, when that comes out. Down here, the heated seat controls are pretty much the only thing I've noticed that are carried over from the previous generation. The buttons just look kind of aftermarket, honestly. This would control like an X-Drive all-wheel drive system, like a lock for the center diff. If you guys go for the Crosstrek, I believe it adds that. The plastics over here do feel a little bit on the more cheaper side, but everything else is pretty much new. I mean, a lot of the switch gearing here has been updated aside from that, so it's nice to see Subaru completely upgrading this. I'm surprised it doesn't have an electronic parking brake, but I guess you traditionalists are going to prefer this. Down here you have some more cup holders. There's a nice padded armrest right here with some storage. Your USB, an aux, and a power outlet is in there. Now, looking above here, you can see there are some controls for the sunroof. This turns off the lane departure alert and the automatic collision braking system. Subaru only offers a standard size moonroof on the Impreza. There's no pana roof available on this particular model. And then when you look over here, the glove compartment, it's a pretty big size. It's damped. It's not lined with felt. And the front seats, I find them to be very comfortable, very supportive. The leather feels high quality. They're only heated. Subaru doesn't offer a cooled function. That's pretty rare in this class, to be honest, though. But I mean, overall, really love this interior. I kind of wish it had an auto dimming rearview mirror. That's a dealer accessory. And then, of course, only single zone climate control. And I wish the driver's seat adjusted more than 8 ways versus the 6 in my tester. The rear seat of the new Impreza also has been enlarged compared to the previous generation. Thanks to that 1-inch stretch in the wheelbase, you do have more leg room, which is definitely on the larger end for the compact segment. Now, stepping back here, you can see it's really easy to get in and out of this seat. There's plenty of leg room and foot space underneath here. This is where I'd have the vehicle's front seat to drive. I'm only 5'7". The door sounds pretty much nice and solid, just like the front. There are no rear seat vents back here, which some competitors are offering that. And then Subaru only gives you one map pocket on the passenger side. Looking at the door panels, they're actually hard touch plastic on the upper portion, so they didn't really carry that through. You have more of that imitation carbon fiber here on the door panel. It's nice and, you know, padded right here with a nice big storage solution, just like the front, for your cell phone, which can actually fit a big phone. Over here, there is an armrest that folds down. I believe the lower trims don't include this, and then the seats themselves, they are 60-40 split to give you some more versatility. Because I have the more practical hatchback model, you can see when you open up the cargo area, this is much more space than what you get in the sedan. About 20.8 cubic feet of space. The sedan only offers you like 12.5 cubic feet of space. Now, if you want to fold down the seats, you get around 55 cubic feet of space, which is actually 10 more than what Honda rates in the Civic hatchback. Honestly, the space seems pretty comparable. I love the large opening, the really low liftover height. Looking underneath the floor here, if you want to check underneath here, it does actually come with a temporary spare tire, so that's nice that Subaru's not making you deal with a fix-a-flat kit. The hood of the new Impreza, this is where Subaru didn't really take an all-new approach. This is basically just a tweaked version of the new 2-liter FB series Flat 4. Now it actually has direct injection, so compared to the previous motor, it now makes 4 more horsepower. 152 horsepower. Doesn't seem all that much because it actually isn't all that much. Torque also remains the same, 145 pound-feet of torque. So underneath the hood, it's a little bit more disappointing on paper. Now it actually, Subaru still offers 2 transmission choices. A 5-speed manual is standard. Surprised they didn't go to a 6-speed manual. A 6-speed is now included in the Crosstrek, which is this vehicle's platform mate. Most of them will probably come with the linear tronics. You can see my tester as it is updated this year. And fuel economy is really the strongest area of this motor. It's rated at 2737, like my tester. The manual drops it significantly though to like 2231. So again, if you go for the stick, you're going to be dealing with a lot less gas mileage compared to this CVT. Now the Impreza does weigh a little bit more. It's about 3,100 pounds now, fully loaded like this, with the standard all-wheel drive, of course, which only makes it about 100 to 200 pounds heavier than a lot of its competitors, but it still has very competitive gas mileage. Let's get it on the road and see how it all works, though, shall we? So this is my first time driving the new Impreza on this all-new global product architecture platform, and I have to say, my initial impressions are really, really good for this car. I mean, you can immediately feel just how much more substantial of a car the Impreza feels, whereas the old one, you know, it definitely felt older. It didn't feel quite as well screwed together as, some of the newer entries in the segment that I drove. This one feels modern. It feels stiff. It feels sporty. The ride is extremely well controlled, and it's also pretty quiet in here. Now, the engine has the typical Subaru Boxer noises, but it's been very muted, especially, this is the CVT model, so it's going to be, a little bit noisier than, a vehicle with a stepped gear transmission. But, the steering is really responsive, and really, you're going to be impressed, in the first few feet that you're driving this new Impreza. It feels like a completely all-new product, and that's a good thing. So as expected, with only 152 horsepower, this is definitely no speed demon. Honestly, I don't really feel any difference in power versus the last, regular powered Impreza that I drove. The CVT, it has been updated. It is one of the better CVTs on the market. But if you guys don't like CVTs, this one still makes some of the typical CVT noises. I mean, Subaru's done a good job at the responsiveness. It's a very snappy CVT, which means whenever I plant my foot, it automatically drops the ratio and it puts the engine into the meat of its power band. And, because of that Subaru Boxer engine, it doesn't sound all that bad. I actually really like the growl that it makes above 4,000 RPM. It just doesn't have the traditional, gear changes, so you kind of have to get used to that. Now, what the CVT does is it does mimic shifts. So it does try to, pretend like it's a stepped automatic, but again, it's one of the better ones. Wish this car had a turbo. Yes, obviously that's going to be coming in the new WRX where it's a different class of vehicle, but, just driving this vehicle down the road, it's a very comfortable and impressive and easy car to drive on a daily basis. Now, when you get it all going, the Impreza should get to 60 in around 9.5 seconds, which is actually about 2 seconds slower than the Honda Civic hatchback with the 1.5 turbo. A Mazda 3 is quicker, Volkswagen Golf is quicker, even the Chevy Cruze is quicker, the new one. Now, again, numbers aren't everything, and the Impreza, to me, surprisingly feels really well-mannered. It's a very responsive powertrain. It makes good noises. Even though it is slower, 0 to 60 times, the feel is where I think the Impreza does really well, and this is where this new chassis will impress you. The steering in this car is really good. It's electric power steering assist, but it's quick. The car doesn't have much body roll, and the Impreza is really sporty to drive. It feels really good. It feels really good, and it feels really implanted. And it's also very quiet in here. There's very hushed in terms of road noise, in terms of wind noise. And really, you're going to be super impressed as a daily driver. This car is really, really good. Now, the visibility in here is also great. It's a typical Subaru hallmark. You have this really low hood, really good, basically 360 view, great big side mirrors. But of course, because my Tester has the EyeSight technology system, it's got all the driver assistance techs you can want. It's got, the automatic emergency braking. It's got active lane keep assist. It's got forward collision alert. It's got lane departure alert. It's got adaptive cruise control with full speed range. So that's really nice. I mean, and you can basically tell you're always reminded you've got EyeSight from the two cameras that are mounted here in the windshield. But I mean, everything else in terms of a driver, this is just really nice. Now, one thing this car does have is paddle shifters. It mimics 7 gears, and when you start using the paddles, they're okay. It doesn't really rev match or blip like, some of the other competitors. This is basically a CVT, and Subaru's done what they could with this powertrain. But when you put your foot down, it's in second right now. And I start using the paddles, it tries to mimic gears. It's okay. Again, you're not going to be driving this car because it's a fast car. What you will be enjoying is the all-wheel drive grip. I mean, because it's all-wheel drive, I can basically feel how planted this car is, especially around corners. And it has kind of an edge that some of its competitors don't really give it. And that's basically one of the reasons why you may pick the Impreza. Now, in the past, the Impreza was always only chosen because it was all-wheel drive. But now, with this new generation, I think there are definitely some other reasons why you may pick it besides its all-wheel drive functionality. There you go, you can do it. Yeah, this thing is pretty sluggish. You gotta wait for the WRX version, but get it around some corners and you'll be impressed, because when the new WRX does come out, it'll basically offer a chassis that will be, a great starter point for something that can handle a lot more power. Now let's talk about a couple of numbers here with this car. Obviously, it's the gas mileage is really impressive, as I said earlier. It's rated at 2737. Now, in my week's worth of testing, I actually have been averaging just around 26 miles per gallon in mostly city driving. On the highway, I did push it up to about 35 miles per gallon, so it's not bad. It is less efficient than, a Honda Civic hatchback or, a Mazda 3 or Volkswagen Golf, but this is basically just as efficient as that Kia Forte 5 SX that I had earlier a couple months ago, and that's impressive considering this is all-wheel drive. Obviously, it's not quite as quick, but it's still a relatively efficient car. Now, price-wise, obviously this is going to be more expensive than the old one. It's not that much more expensive, however, than in the competition. A base Impreza sedan, a 2-liter I, starts at around $18,500. Add about $500 for the hatchback body style, which is something that I would add no-brainer, which means this car starts at around $18,900. That's actually about $1,000 cheaper than a Honda Civic hatchback, right in line again with the Mazda 3. A Chevrolet Cruze is more expensive, however. The Kia Forte 5 is basically a little bit less expensive than this, however, it's a significantly older platform. Obviously, most of you are going to pick the premium trim, though. That gives you, like features like alloy wheels, upgraded sound system. You have the availability of a sunroof, Subaru's EyeSight technology. That's around $21,000. Add about $800 for the sport trim, which gives you 18-inch wheels, a sport package, and LED running lights. That's kind of a no-brainer for me. I'd probably add the sport trim. Now the limited starts at around $24,700. That's going to basically give you the option of leather seats with a power driver seat. You can add the Harman Kardon sound system, the upgraded head unit with nav, the EyeSight technology. My tester, with all those features with the sunroof, which is like $4,000 extra if you guys want it, is going to cost around $29,500. Now that sounds like a lot of money. It's a new high point for an Impreza. However, if you build fully loaded versions of the Honda Civic, the Mazda 3, the Chevy Cruze, it's going to basically top out around 29, almost 30 grand for some of those testers. So Subaru's right in line. They're not charging anything extra for the Impreza with its all-wheel drive system. Now, is the Impreza perfect? No, it's missing dual zone climate control. It's missing memory seats. It's missing an 8-way power driver seat with lumbar. An auto-dimming rearview mirror. I'd really like to see those features, especially at this price point. Now, with all that said, there is a new competitor out there, the Hyundai Elantra GT, that just went on sale, where you can get all of the EyeSight driver assistance tech features minus the all-wheel drive, but you'll have the turbo engine with a 6-speed manual or a dual clutch, and you'll get a big panel sunroof with cooled seats. That car I built, a 2018 model, that's around $29,000 as well. That could be a really tough competitor for a lot of the new hatchbacks on the market, which I haven't had a chance to drive yet, which I'm really looking forward to doing. But with all that said, I'm really super impressed with the way this 2017 Impreza drives. The powertrain is certainly not perfect. However, if speed is not something that's important for you and all-wheel drive is, and you want that, versatility, you want that rugged look, the Impreza is definitely at the top end of my list in terms of just a regular compact car. And again, if you want more ground clearance, make sure you check out the Crosstrek, which just went on sale as well, which has 8.7 inches of ground clearance. And really, I think this is going to make the great, basis for the all-new WRX STI, which we're expecting in the 2020 model year. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this car. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.